your yard, this moment, whatever this moment has brought you. But right now, I am predetermining my future. Where I am an hour from now, a week from now, a year from now, 20 years from now, is based on decisions I make today. And I have absolute free will to make decisions today. There are probabilities based on every decision I've made up until this moment, based on personalities, based on habits, based on characteristics, based on tendencies. But it's not an absolute. So for example, this is where the science of astrology comes in, right? So we go to a good astrologer, and a good astrologer says to you, oh, you're going to have a difficult time here. You're going to have success here. You're going to have this here. And it feels like, oh God, that must be predetermined. Well, here's how I understand that in a very simple way. There is a magnetic pull on the earth of that which is in the atmosphere. And this does not require spiritual or religious belief. This requires basic science. If you've ever seen high tide and low tide, or ever even heard of high tide and low tide, you know the impact of the moon on the ocean. Okay? The magnetic pull of the moon with the earth is what causes high tide and low tide. Well, our bodies are basically almost all water. We're being pulled on not just by the moon, but by all of the planets. It would be, in my opinion, foolish from a scientific perspective to say, yeah, I get it, that the pull of the moon is strong enough to move God knows how many billions of gallons of water there are in the ocean. I mean, I don't even know how many it is. But whatever the volume of water in the ocean is, it's a lot bigger than the volume of water in my body. And what we know is, if I take this glass and I shake it even a tiny bit, I'm going to start getting water pouring over the sides. Shake a bucket of water the same way, you're going to get a much smaller impact. Shake your bathtub the same way, you're going to barely get any impact. Shake a lake, no impact. And I mention that because it all has to do with the volume of water, the amount of water. If the pull from the moon on the earth is strong enough with that much volume of water to create the difference between high tide and low tide, which is a huge difference, live on the beach, and it's a massive difference. We are a much smaller volume of water than the ocean. And so we can only imagine what is happening to us internally with the pull. Now, where does this come in with karma and free will? Well, here's the astrology part. It comes in when we talk about that which is predetermined. So you could go to a good astrologer and you could say, when is it most likely I'm going to die? Okay, well, the astrologer takes all of the pieces of your details, and one of the pieces of your details is you live by the ocean. Another piece of detail is you don't know how to swim. A third piece of detail is you really love to collect seashells, you love the tide pools, you love to walk on the beach. So what the astrologer knows is the time when there's going to be the highest tide, at the time of day when you go for your walk, is a dangerous time for you. You don't swim. The place where you walk is going to be covered with feet of water. That is a dangerous time. Now, it doesn't mean you're definitely going to die. If you know, high tide. And this is where the benefit of astrology comes in. Is it's not about predicting this is exactly what's going to happen at this time. This is where it gives us probabilities. Not due to magic, but due to science. If you don't swim, you walk on the beach, and it's very, very high tide at the time you walk on the beach, that is a dangerous situation. You have a high likelihood of being injured or dying. Not because the stars are against you, not because you've got bad karma, but simply because you pull all these factors together and it signals dangerous situation. And so when we make choices in our life based on astrology, it's a choice that says, you know what? At that time, better to stay out of the ocean. That's the time to sit inside, have a cup of tea. It's a very auspicious time for a cup of tea inside. Very inauspicious time for a walk on the beach. Now, if we cut ourselves off from all of that, and we walk on the beach anyway, and you drown, the question becomes, well, was it predetermined? Well, no, it wasn't predetermined that you were going to be stupid enough to walk on the beach in many feet of water or with high tide coming in knowing that you don't swim. What we have are probabilities. And so, for example, the fact that you are all here is a very good probability that an hour from now, tomorrow, weeks from now, months from now in your life, that you're going to be on a spiritual path. That you're going to delve within, that you're going to be deep. But you have free will. You could walk out of here and find a pub and decide enough of spirituality, forget it, I just want to be a drunkard. It's not the most likely given that you're here. But we have absolute free will. The analogy, the metaphor of this that we give a lot is, that makes it really easy to understand, is you say, okay, so all of your past karma, past lives, this life, your stars, your astrology, everything combined, has come together to give you in this moment a cow. Okay, that's the equivalent of us all being here right now. Cannot change it. Can't change what you're wearing, you can't change what you look like, you can't change how much money you have, you can't change your relationships, you can't change what degree you have, you can't change where you are in this exact moment. We cannot rewind history. You cannot be having a cappuccino on the Champs-Élysées in Paris at this moment. You've got a cow. Cannot be a dog, a cat, a goat. But from that cow, we get several things. We get milk. Well, if we use that milk, assuming, as I always add, that the cow is fed organic feed and treated with lots of love and, right? So we're ahimsa cows, loving our cows, cows as members of the family. In that case, their milk is nectar. Make ghee from it, make butter from it, make cheese from it, make yogurt from it. You will be healthy. Use their manure in your fields. It's a fantastic organic fertilizer. But if you eat the manure and you spill the milk in the field, you will be sick and your crops will die. Not because the universe was against you, not because your stars were against you, not because it was predetermined that you were going to be sick or your crops would die. What was predetermined was the cow. Your sum total of all of the past, everything, has given you this moment. Now, based on who we are in this moment, there are probabilities. You are more likely to be in satsang than a pub. People in a pub right now are more likely to be in a pub than in satsang. If you are someone with intelligence, with humility, you are very likely, when you get this cow and you have no idea what the white stuff coming out of it is, what the brown stuff coming out of it is, you're very likely to say to someone, "What is this stuff?" You're very likely to be humble enough, intelligent enough to look around you and see who's healthy, who's got fields that are plentiful, who also has a cow, a situation that looks like yours, and they're doing something really good with it. You've got the humility, the intelligence to pray for wisdom. In that case, you are most likely to get it right. You're most likely to learn, white stuff, drink, brown stuff, field, not vice versa. But if you're someone who's very arrogant, someone who thinks they know everything, or take it deeper psychologically, someone who, for a whole variety of reasons, is determined that they deserve to fail, they deserve to be sick, nothing is ever going to go right for them, they always get the short end of the stick, everything is always better for other people, subconsciously, they're going to make the wrong decision and end up sick. Again, not because it was absolutely predetermined. Only the cow was predetermined. Our free will is what we do with it, which determines then where we'll be tomorrow. So today is the pre that's determining your tomorrow. So then you say, well, okay, so how do we change it? Well, the first piece of it is to understand what parts of it I'm impacting today. Because, of course, some of it we are carrying in from the past. So I've got this cow. Okay, can't change it. Really wish it were a goat. Unfortunately, can't be a goat. It's a cow. Okay, now what? But at least when I recognize that, I'm able to say, okay, got this cow. How can I find out as much as possible about the cow? How can I find out how other people in the past in this situation have made the best of it? And if really what I wanted was a goat or a kitty cat or a dog, how can I find out where to get one? So I've got this apple tree in my yard, seeds planted by me this life or by me in a previous life, or through permitting knowingly, unknowingly, someone to come and plant apple seeds on my property. So I've got this apple tree. I hate apples. I'm allergic to apples. I'm miserable. Well, how do you change it? Well, you can't change the apple tree. There is no mantra or magic wand that you can wave or chant that's going to turn the apple tree into an orange tree. And this is where a lot of us actually get really misled. That somehow if I just can visualize it properly, that apple tree will be an orange tree. If I just can visualize it properly. Instead of being me, I'll be someone else. I'll be in an entirely different situation. No. We create our lives, yeah, but we're co-creating. co-creating with what we call the law of nature. If you walk off a building, you're going to go splat on the ground. Visualize wings all you want. Visualize being a bird all you want. You are still going to go splat on the ground. Law of nature. We are co-creating it. We are not victims. We have that free will. Do I jump off the building? That's our part of the co-creation. The universe has already done its part. It's given us the law of gravity. If we try to co-create in a vacuum and we ignore things like the law of gravity, we ignore things like the law of aging. Okay, we don't have to fall prey to, cultural misconceptions about what you can and can't do. But there's also very, very natural laws of nature about what happens to matter as it ages. And no matter how many age-defying creams or bottles or pills or whatnot we buy, there's a law of nature. Karma is a law of nature. And so the prayer that we give is, okay, I've got this apple tree. Not how can I magic wand it into an orange tree, but rather, oh God, can you help me stop being allergic to apples? Can you help me learn to love apples? Can you send some school children with a basket my way so they can climb my apple tree and fill their basket with apples? Can you teach me to make apple preserves or inspire me to learn how to make apple preserves? Can you give me the creativity of what to do with this so that I may be of service with it? And can you show me where to find an orange seed? Because tomorrow I really would like an orange tree in my yard. And I know I can't magic wand this apple tree into it, but I can plant an orange tree. So the predetermined part is I now have an apple tree. Predetermined by the fact that apple seeds were planted. But what I'm planting today is giving me the tree that I have tomorrow. And that's my free will. Am I going to sit here and cry over my apple tree? Am I going to feel rejected by the universe? A victim of the universe, that I got apples which I'm allergic to? And this guy over there got juicy oranges? Am I going to try to find the right mantra, the right prayer, the right book that's going to somehow teach me how to magic wand my apple tree into an orange tree? Or am I actually going to go out there and find orange seeds and learn how to plant them? And that is something that every single one of us has the ability to do. And so, wherever you are, that is the fertile ground in which the seeds of your tomorrow are being planted. And that is your entirely free will. No one can tell you what to plant. Only you can. But you have to plant them in cooperation with the laws of the universe. If you try to plant orange trees in Antarctica, they're not going to grow. And then you're going to feel like a failure. And then you're going to feel like the universe is against you. And so when we think about free will and we think about co-creating our lives, most of us tend to go back and forth between two different ends of the pendulum. I'm a victim. There's nothing I can do. This is what I'm stuck with. And then we get inspired. Maybe we listen to, a motivational speaker speak, or we read something really inspiring. We feel very inspired. I can do anything. But we go out there and we try to create against the laws of nature. And it doesn't work. And then we fall back over here. See, I knew it. Even this manifestation thing I can't do. Even this spiritual thing I can't do. I'm not even meditating right. And it's not in either of those places. This is why what we talk about all the time is we're not separate from the universe. Right? Last night we spent the whole night, or a large portion of it, talking about yoga. Union. Well, my creation of the world must be in accordance with that which is predetermined for the world around me. If I decide, for example, I've got to be the one who gets the promotion. There's one promotion in my company. They've made a big announcement. There's one promotion. I'm going to be the one to get it. Okay, well, that's great. And I think about it and I intend it. I meditate upon it. I've got my affirmations of it. I do all of the things to get it. But there's a piece that I'm not aware of, which is that I don't exist in a vacuum. And maybe my colleague actually needs that promotion a lot more. Maybe my colleague not only wants it just as badly as I do, but actually has 5 mouths at home to feed. And maybe her husband, who was bringing in some money and they were a 2-income household, has now been hit with a horrible illness and no longer can bring in any money. And her mom has been diagnosed with cancer and has come back to live with them. And so if I don't get it, if I don't get that promotion, rather than thinking, oh my God, my meditation is wrong, my manifestation powers are bad, my affirmations must have been wrong, I'm not doing it properly, to realize, wait, I forgot that I live in a world in which we're all connected. And that there's no world in which I deserve that woman's raise. And so how can I recognize that maybe what I was supposed to get out of this entire exercise was actually a raise in my ability to feel compassion? I thought I was going for a raise of money. I thought my bank account was going to expand. I thought I was going to be promoted in the company, better title, better office. But actually that which was coming to me was a spiritual promotion. Because I was miserable about not getting the raise until I found out who got it and her situation. Not that she got it out of pity. She got it out of merit. But suddenly I'm no longer miserable, I'm no longer jealous, I'm no longer competitive. Suddenly there's compassion. And I got something that's actually much more valuable than the extra few dollars or rupees or euros in my bank account. That's actually much more valuable than a new title. I got the gift of experiencing compassion. And so that's the other piece that we have to realize as we are creating our lives and working to change our destinies. It's not always about what am I going to change outside. A lot of times it's about what am I going to change inside. And so my manifestation of abundance, for example, my prayers of abundance, my meditation on abundance, isn't necessarily always about the actual money that's going to come my way. It may end up leading me to simply a changed perception of what I already have. Nothing may have changed in my bank account, but my experience has gone from being one of poverty to being one of wealth. Suddenly I've realized that my cup runneth over. Suddenly, instead of wanting to get, I want to share. Suddenly I have more than I know what to do with, even though my bank account hasn't changed. And so when we put prayers out to the universe, when we put intentions out to the universe, we have to have faith in the intelligence of the universe to give us something much bigger, much better, much fuller than I thought. I was asking in my prayer for abundance, let's say. I was asking for financial abundance. Why? Well, because in my mind, if I had more, I'd be happier. In my mind, if I had more, I could do more. If I had more, I'd feel fuller. Well, the universe maybe the universe gives me instead an experience in which I realize, oh my God, I have so much. Maybe the universe just gives me an incredible meditation, an incredible spiritual experience in which I realize how full I am, how abundant I am. And in that space, I let go of my whole concept of poverty, of lack, of scarcity. And into that flows so much time and creativity and space that now I'm able to do so much more. Not because my bank balance has necessarily increased, but because my perception has increased. And so the changes that we make in our destiny are in many cases much bigger than we even could have possibly envisioned them to be. And that becomes the prayer that we put out there, is give me the tools. Okay, here's where I am. Here's where I'm stuck. Give me the tools to change this, the tools to use my free will to bring me what I want tomorrow, and then to leave it to the universe to give you something much more even than what you asked. Because we can only see this much. The universe knows everything. And that's faith. And that's where faith has to come into this. Faith that there is a knower, there is a planner who ultimately wants the best for us, that takes care of all of creation, including us. And if we can just open ourselves to it, that's when magic happens. That's when miracles happen. A flower doesn't have to figure out how to give fragrance. A flower just has to be a flower. It doesn't have to figure out how to open its petals. It just has to allow the sun to touch it. It just has to surrender to the energy of the sun. And the energy does the rest. A caterpillar doesn't have to figure out how to become a butterfly. It just has to surrender to that sign from the universe that says, weave yourself into this cocoon and then sit still. And it's the same for us. We don't have to figure it all out, thankfully. Because we're hopelessly miserable at figuring it all out, so thank God we don't have to. All we have to do is surrender to who we are, with an awareness and faith that there is that wisdom in the universe that knows when our petals need to open, knows when a seed needs to sprout, when the ground is soft enough for it actually to be able to push through the ground rather than hitting frost and dying. And when we have that faith, that's when we're able to really predetermine, pre-create, co-create the magic and the miracles that are all of our birthright. Every one of us. And as Puja Swamiji always says, whenever you wake up, it's morning. So it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. We all have that. So we have time for one more question. If there is one here, I'm happy to take it here. Yes?
I'd like to ask that predetermination is an event of God. So mobile has invented later on, Thomas Alva Edison and Light's invention, scientific inventions.
Mm-hmm.
So were they all predetermined that to invent now and use for now people in the new generation?
Okay, so how do we take all of that which we've been talking about, predetermining the divine, and you look at, he said, people like Thomas Edison. So they invent the light, as he said. And was that predetermined? There was light before there was Thomas Edison. What he figured out how to do is tap into energy in the world, electricity in the world, and give it to us in a very specific way, into sound in the world, and give it to us in a very specific way. He was an incredible inventor. We've had, prior to that and since then, scientific inventors, spiritual inventors, who tap into different energies of the world. Light waves, sound waves, magnetic waves, and give them to us in newer and newer and newer ways. Is every single invention predetermined? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think, in my concept of God, God's not sitting around doing, I forget what it's called, but when you're going to do a TV show or a movie, and they put together sort of all of these images in advance of exactly what every single scene, storyboard, exactly. I don't have this vision of God sort of storyboarding all of everybody's life, and at this moment is when light is going to be invented, and at this moment is when a microphone is going to be invented, and at this moment, I don't think so. Because remember, we have free will. And if that were all storyboarded in advance, it would remove free will from the equation. The question for us becomes not so much these esoteric aspects of, well, was this thing predetermined or was that thing predetermined? But for us, the question becomes, to me at least, the question becomes, how can I, in my life, take where I am, that which I know was predetermined, because here's where I am. And I've got the benefit of Thomas Edison's inventions. Here we are with light, here we are with sound, here we are with so much. And I've got the benefit of so many other people's inventions. I have no idea who invented the video camera, but whoever did it, we're very thankful, right? Our sisters and brothers around the world are able to join in. Here's where we are now. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with what we have that leaves the world? Whether it's the bigger world or whether it's just the energetic sphere in which I move in a better place, in a better way. How can I? Thomas Edison figured out how to get that electricity and put it into a bulb in your room. That's already been done. We don't have to reinvent that. Now the question is, how can I be the light? How can I use spiritual energy? How can I tap into spiritual energy? Spiritual frequencies. And turn myself into that light bulb. Because we all have the power to do that. Right? Last night also we were talking about the Guru, right? The remover of darkness, the bringer of light, that light of wisdom, that light of truth. How can we be that light? Eventually this bulb is going to die, it's going to have to be replaced. But the bulb within us isn't. How can we be that light? And here's the key. And the great piece of it. We don't actually have to manufacture it from the inside. We don't have to go home and figure out, how can I be the light of the world? All we have to do is figure out how to plug ourselves in to the divine light. That light exists. How can I plug myself into it? With an ever-expanding, infinitely expanding cord, so wherever I go, I stay plugged in and I stay able to be the light and bring the light. No matter how beautiful a lamp is, if it's not plugged in, it's useless. Nobody would say, yeah, it's kind of a shame that it doesn't work, but God, the lamp is so beautiful, I want it anyway. If there was no cord, you couldn't plug that lamp in and get light from it, it's useless. Cover it with gold, cover it with diamonds, do whatever you want. Useless lamp. We would all much rather have a bare bulb, undecorated, but that's plugged in, than the most beautiful lamp in the world that's unable to be plugged in. And so if we could spend a little bit less energy worrying about how we are decorated, and a little bit more energy making sure we're plugged in, then sure, decorate yourself, why not? But not at the expense of being plugged in. When we're able to do that, and it doesn't matter what our religion is or how we envision plugging in, is it inside, is it out, is it up, is it in, is it down, it doesn't matter. Am I plugging into a divine that has a name or has a form or doesn't? It doesn't matter. Because the divine is infinite. So however we connect to it, but we have to connect. And then we have to be that light. And bring that light to the world. And that is something every single one of us regardless of your science acumen, regardless of whether you failed out of, physics or chemistry or biology, whatever it is, irrelevant. You may not be able to be the new Thomas Edison, but it doesn't matter because he already existed. We've got that light. Now you need to be the light from within that brings that light to the world. And every one of us has that cord. Every one of us can plug in. And that's what we need to go home and do. Wonderful. So have a beautiful, light-filled evening and night. And I will see you all tomorrow, and I promise tomorrow we'll begin with some of the questions that came in advance in case any of you have given them in out of shyness to raise your hand. And if you haven't and you want to, you'd rather get it to us in advance than ask it in person, you can do that. You can get it to Lori or Neela or Ed, and they'll get it to me in advance, and we'll take some of those tomorrow when we begin.